This is episode 2 of a 2-part interview with Bobby Ahdieh. Please check out part 1 to hear the whole conversation. So we've looked at innovation. We've talked about the Switchyard Innovation District. Let's step back a little bit and tell us about your bread and butter. Let's talk about the law school. What explains its skyrocketing rise in the rankings? You have taken a school just since your leadership and since A&M acquired it back in 2013. What is the dean of a law school doing to help it get so high in the rankings?
So lots of ingredients, obviously. Again, so there's no magic bullet. If you ask the Aggies, yourself among them, what's the secret? It's just you slap the A&M logo on anything, boom, it's number one immediately. Okay, I'll give a little bit to that, but there's a few more ingredients. So I'll just say to situate it a little bit. So when A&M acquired the law school in 2013, in many ways it was, it had the bones of a great law school, and it was producing great folks who were doing great work and incredibly impactful and so on and so forth. But as a matter of kind of the indicia of national prestige and visibility and whatnot, it wasn't there, right? So 200 law schools in the country, the bottom 25 are unranked. They don't attach a number to them. And what was then Texas Wesleyan, or newly Texas A&M Law School, was in that unranked category. Over the course of those 13 years since then, we're now ranked 22nd in the country, so in the top 25. We're in bottom 25, top 20 to the top 25. It's not that that's unprecedented. No one even 10 years ago would have found that to be as serious. It's roughly in the range of, I'm gonna win the Super Bowl as the quarterback, next year. That is slightly only slightly less plausible than a law school will go from the bottom 25 to the top 25 in 13 years. And that's not smoke and mirrors. If you look at the quality of the students coming in the door, has exploded. They're incredible. I talk about them as students of great caliber and great character. The outcomes in the back end, top 5 or 10 or whatever, top 10, I think for the last 5 years in terms of employment outcomes, top, nationally and in the state of Texas for bar passage. So great outcomes in the back end. We've hired incredible faculty from all over the country, from great law schools, from higher rank law schools, who are excited about being part of this building project. So how has it happened that we were able to pull that off? I do think A&M's has been critical to that. Partially the name, but I don't think it's mostly the name. I think it's two other things, and both are equally significant. One is resources. A&M has invested, to their credit, tremendously in the growth and success and advance of the law school, and we all really owe them. The country and the legal profession owes them a debt of gratitude for that, because I think it does a lot of work, what we're doing at the law school for the country and for the state. But in addition to that, I want to give A&M credit for something different. I always talk about this as, why is A&M successful? Because no other university would have even tried. Like if someone walked in the office of the leadership of any other university and said, okay, listen, there's this unranked law school, and we want to make it a top national law school. They would have said, are you insane? It's not even a thing, right? So I want to give A&M credit for, they were willing to say, the language I sometimes use is the presumption. I gave a talk, the presumption of the possible, that A&M has the presumption of possible. That they say, you know what? Unless you can prove to me that it's impossible, I'm going to assume it's worth a shot, right? The reference I always use is, if you don't believe that, ask any Aggie, any August, what do you think is going to happen this fall in football? And every single one will say, you know what? This is the year. We are going all the way this year. And of course, by November, they're like, okay, not this year, but next year. So anyway, but that, to me, God bless. Let's give Aggies and let's give A&M credit for that. I'm an adopted Aggie, I'm not born to this. But I think that's a big chunk of it. Beyond that, it's people. So we've brought in incredible faculty. We're recruiting incredible students. We have staff who are just so damn committed to the success of the students and to their progress. And you put those pieces together, hardworking, committed faculty, hardworking, committed staff, and students who are just, again, as I said, not just super smart caliber, but just people of great character. These are students who, they're going to the profession for the right reasons. They have a good work ethic. They don't have a sense of entitlement, and they thrive in law school. But then they go out in the world, and every employer wants to hire them because they say, that's the kid I want. He's as smart as the next guy, or she is as smart as the next one. But also has this attitude, this commitment, this desire to serve. One of A&M's core values is selfless service. I think our students bring that to their work in the legal profession as well, and that makes all the difference.
Yeah, I love that, and it has been a meteoric rise. And again, kudos to you for not only taking the A&M Law School to that high ranking, but including Fort Worth and all of that. I mean, those students are coming to Fort Worth, those faculty are coming to Fort Worth, and that's putting us on the map in a totally different way in the legal profession, in a great way. I know that one of your top ranked programs, sort of within the law school, is your intellectual property program. And obviously, intellectual property is a critical part of fostering and protecting innovation. Can you tell us more about that program and why you think that has also been so highly thought of?
So again, I oftentimes describe it as I say A&M. There are lots of land grant universities, but A&M takes its land grant mission quite seriously. I mean, they really my phrasing of it is my phrasing rather than A&M, but is what are we doing to make the lives of every Texan, and I could say every Texan and every American better every single day? That's the question that A&M asks. That's the question that the law school, by extension, asks as well. And so when A&M acquires the law school, they literally their documents which they talk about, we're going to make a patent law school. Now, I don't know that they knew exactly what that meant, but they sort of meant something like we're really strong in engineering and the sciences and so on and so forth. Texas needs strong intellectual property protections and rights, needs innovation, which obviously doesn't happen without strong intellectual property rules and practices. And so we're going to make this law school that. And they did. They hired an incredible group of our IP, intellectual property, and technology faculty. I would hold up against anyone in the country. Big group. They do great work, super interesting work across a broad array of areas. And so that has brought great value to Fort Worth, to North Texas, and to Texas as a whole in terms of not just the work that they do, but then the students they graduate. Because students choose A&M because we've been so consistently high ranked and strong in that area. Because there's so many opportunities that come from all those faculty, so many programs for the community that they put on. That has really been a driver of innovation and a driver of economic growth as a result because of that. Students have multiple clinical opportunities. So clinics, just like medical schools or hospitals have clinics, we have law clinics. And the idea is that low-income individuals who need legal services can't afford a lawyer, but they can go to the clinic. And we're not always capable. More sometimes the volume exceeds the capacity, but where we can, we help them. So we have a patent clinic that somebody has a new innovation, some new invention. We help them work with that. We've got a copyright and trademark clinic. That somebody has a copyright or a trademark they want to register. We've got students who help under supervision of a faculty member, of course. That help them with that. And so that IP area is in some sense a perfect reflection of how A&M thinks about what the value it adds to the state of Texas. And obviously, central to Texas's growth is innovation and economic innovation, and that depends on this IP, our capacities in the IP area.
Yeah, and you mentioned those clinics, and you mentioned several things that they can help people with. But one of those clinics helps entrepreneurs and
Yeah,
helps them protect property and copyright and things like that. Can you tell us more about the clinic program? And if anybody's interested, how can they learn more?
great, good. So again, so actually, I think we have now 12 or 13. I've lost track, if I'm being honest. Different clinics. So there's a veterans benefits clinic. There's a low income taxpayer clinic. There's a I can remember them all. But again, I mentioned two of them, which are actually separate clinics. There's a patent clinic that I mentioned. There's the copyright and trademark clinic. But you're identifying, Cameron, another one, which is an entrepreneurship clinic. And this is the basic idea is that you've got folks who are, they have an idea for a company that they want to start, but they need someone to help them with the company formation, creating an LLC or whatever it might be that's appropriate. Making sure they're doing the proper tax filings, and the like. So these are students again under supervision of faculty member. So it's not they're practicing law. They're not practicing law. They're working for a lawyer or working with a lawyer who's the practitioner. But they're doing the real work and they're learning from that as well. I should emphasize the notion of a clinic is that it's providing a community service while the student is getting real hands-on experience. So the entrepreneurship clinic is great because now you've got sort of low income individuals. There's no way they can afford a lawyer. So they say, like, I got an idea, but I can't do anything with it. Or they move their thing forward, but they don't structure it properly. So they lose what it is that they built, or they're not set up to be successful. So that clinic helps them do it. We have a website for all the clinics. And again, there's other ones too. There's a family clinic and others. That folks can go to and identify and put in basically requests for services, depending on the time of year and whether students are around and how overloaded they are. I wish it was the case that we had the resources to meet all the needs, all the legal needs, but they really work very, very hard. The students and their faculty work incredibly hard to do everything they can to help those who, again, have a legal need. But I think we have a huge access to justice issue in the state of Texas. The former Chief Justice of the Texas Supreme Court used to estimate that 90% of legal services are not being met. Our clinics can't fix that alone, but if we can even help with a little bit of it, that's a good thing.
Yeah, thanks for walking us through that. That's a really great service to the community that you provide, and you're right. It's such a great experiential learning opportunity for future Aggie lawyers and current Aggie lawyers that are in training. We will be sure and put the link to those clinics in the show notes so that our listeners can learn more and can contact and reach out directly. One of the things that you've also built the law school around is partnerships, and the partnerships with local companies, with other local partners. Can you tell us how that started with the law school, and then what that means for the future innovation campus? What do future partnerships mean for the Switchyard Innovation District and some of the other things that you've talked about on this episode?
Great. So again, I'm probably too many for me to kind of think of all of them, but so again, in the same vein of our task is to make the lives of every Texan better and every American better every day. From the get-go, the notion, and even before, even as Texas Wesleyan, obviously the clinics had this outward facing thing, but the notion was, how can we partner with other community organizations, with companies in town to kind of elevate our community, to elevate the success and opportunities that are created in our community. So I think the one example is, for years now actually around the campus, we're creating an even deeper partnership with Cook Children's Hospital. But before any of the campus stuff came onto the horizon, the law school has a long-standing partnership with Cook Children's Hospital, what's called a medical legal partnership, that we basically collaborate with them to help provide legal services to patients that can't really effectively pursue or secure the medical services they need without some legal issue being addressed. So think about it as now like you're a doctor, you're not able to provide someone the care they need because of a legal issue. The doctor is not going to be able to solve that, but A&M law students within this medical legal partnership can help with that, right? So that would be an example. I'm not going to think of probably more of those as well. Another one, again, just to give a sense of the kind of this is now the law school and the campus. So with the law school's kind of dramatic rise in visibility and ranking that we've talked about, 2.5 years ago, Texas establishes this new Texas business court. That the notion is to make Texas a more attractive place to do business, to incorporate, so on and so forth. We get a call early on from the governor's office to say, you're building this whole new campus. The law school is on this incredible wild ride, this trajectory. What do you think about hosting the judges, two of the 10 judges of the Texas Business Court at the law school, as well as not their chambers only, but also the courtroom where they hear cases? Needless to say, we immediately said yes. It produced a slightly funny result that we eventually realized that the only place that worked for the judges' chambers was my office. And so I became an itinerant worker of sorts. And so I spent a year. My office was in a storage room at the back of the Sheraton Hotel, right next door to us, and now I'm across the street, at yet other space. But again, so worth it. Again, think about it, for our students, for our faculty, even but frankly for the court. I mean, for them to have student interns present and around or whatever, to have engagement of faculty with the work that they're doing, for us to develop programs that kind of, in many ways, the law school and A&M by extension are at the center of the efforts to make Texas a better place to do business in all sorts of ways. So that's the kind of partnership that the law school kind of undertook. And then by extension, now we are replicating with the College of Medicine, with the College of Engineering, and so on and so forth. But not just folks who are already in Fort Worth that we want to help them maintain and grow, but even for companies from outside that we want to bring to Fort Worth. But now, when we go out and pitch them, one of the things we can pitch is, here's a massive College of Engineering that's ready to partner with you on workforce training, on R&D, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about that sort of moving forward. When you think about innovation, when you think about entrepreneurship, good ideas can come from anywhere, and they can come from partners. They can come from just regular people that need a partner and things like that. What kind of partnerships do you think will be important as you continue to build out the Switchyard Innovation District outside of just the law school?
Great. So again, that's really much. And again, I mentioned earlier, again, our sponsors, the Fort Worth Tarrant County Innovation Partnership, that's at the heart of that work, right? The notion is that the university or universities are not particularly well versed in, hi company, we'd like to do something with you. But to be fair, the companies aren't particularly good at that either. And if we're being fair, cities aren't necessarily. I mean, they have some of the moving parts of attracting companies, but kind of building those relationships less so. So the notion was to create this separate 501c3 that would have that charge. And obviously partnership is in the name. It's a partnership of Fort Worth, Tarrant County, and A&M, but really it is also, the partnership in the name reflects the notion of we are building partnerships, right? That entity is charged to build partnerships and to build relationships. And so again, we have engineering in town talking to Lockheed and to Bell. We have the College of Medicine talking to Cook Children's and JPS and others. We've got the visualization program talking to Taylor Sheridan's folks, as well as Red Productions and so on and so forth. So and I can keep going. Ag College of Agriculture talking to so that's exactly the notion, is that there's so much opportunity, and it's not one-sided. It's not, can you do me a favor? It's, can I help you be more successful? And in your greater success, I have greater success. And that, again, I hate to say, it comes back to this, what's the aspiration? If the aspiration is, what do we do to make the lives of every Texan and every American better every single day? That's kind of what we ought to be doing.
Yeah, I love that, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Texas A&M centric.
No,
Texas
no,
A&M can be the center of gravity. It can provide the space and the buildings and all kinds of things. But I think what I've loved about watching the A&M approach from my vantage is just that they walk in with open arms, and they don't say, we're the 800-pound gorilla, here's how it's going to be. It's exactly the opposite, which is, what can we do for you? What are the needs? How can we help you on workforce or training or whatever that may look like? And I love that is going to continue through the culture of the Switchyard Innovation District.
the very first meeting kind of we had, was the real high level conversation between Fort Worth and A&M. John Goff, who I should emphasize has been a massive champion of this
He sure
effort.
has, yeah.
I mentioned Betsy Price, as mayor, and now Mayor Maddie Parker has been incredibly supportive as well. But the Mayor Price and John and a few others of us flew down to meet with the then Chancellor John Sharp and his kind of leadership team. Midway through what was supposed to be a 20-minute meeting became an hour and a half meeting, because everyone was so excited about what we were talking about. But midway through, the chancellor, good Aggie, he said, well, what about like TCU and UT Arlington? Like, do they want to be in on this too? And we all said, yeah, let's talk to them. And that's really been the model, is that, again, we can create something that really becomes valuable to all of us. And so this really is not a zero-sum game in any way. It is everybody's pie getting, your piece of the pie getting bigger makes my piece of the pie get bigger as well, and vice versa. And so that's true of the businesses, and it's for sure true of the higher education piece. If all of us did everything we could possibly do, we would not meet the need that will be created if we pull off what we're trying to.
Yeah, and I love that approach, because I think it's the right approach. And entrepreneurs, they'll go anywhere. Startups will go anywhere to get the resources
Exactly right.
that they need. And if we can make it convenient and easy for them in a specific place, that's going to make it easier on everybody and hopefully increase their chances of success. So, Bobby, I want to know, what's your favorite innovation in Fort Worth?
My favorite innovation. Oh gosh, there's too many.
It's hard when you're running an innovation district to come up with your favorite, right?
So I'll say this: I actually oftentimes talk about the number of things out in the world that we think of as, oh, that was a big deal, right? That actually have their origins, or at least some part of their origins, in Fort Worth. So I'm going to give you three, and again, there are probably others too, but three that I always think of. So when Bill Gates is a young kid trying to understand this whole personal computer thing, he wants to go and talk to someone or some entity or some group that can help him understand it, and he flies to Fort Worth, Texas, to meet with the folks at Tandy and Radio Shack to understand, what is this whole personal computer thing, and where's it going, and what's the opportunity, and so on and so forth. I'm not saying we invented the personal computer, but that said, that's a telling indicator when we think about it. Bill Gates came here to have conversations to understand where this was going. That's one. Private equity, which drives so much of kind of, the global economy now. Look, even athletics now is, we'll be in the hands of college athletics. Will soon be in the hands of private equity. In many ways, kind of that didn't get its start exactly, but it really kind of in its modern form emerges from a number of families, a number of entities here in Fort Worth. So fracking, which is one of the most significant sources of energy production now, not just in the U.S. but across the globe. The concept had existed previously, but it was perfected and thing. And you can think that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not propounding on that, but I'm saying just as a matter of innovations, the idea that this major significant energy extraction technology really emerged out of Fort Worth. Again, my favorite thing about Fort Worth is that we have been an incredible source of incredibly innovative things. We have not done enough to own that. And I hope that if we do our job right, the work that the partnership is doing, the work that this podcast is doing, and I hope the work that the Canvas is doing and the Switchyard Innovation District is doing will center Fort Worth in that narrative in the U.S., in Texas, in the U.S., and across the globe in a way that it hasn't.
Great examples, and I think a lot of Fort Worthians forget some of those examples.
Sure.
Radio Shack is long gone, but boy, it had a huge impact on this city. And hydraulic fracturing has done more to probably change the energy industry than just about anything else. And it has led us into the world we're in now, which is we can be a lot more energy independent. And it's really fascinating that all that started here. Bobby, thank you so much for joining me today on Fort Worth Innovates. If you like hearing stories like this about innovation, research, entrepreneurship, and startups in our city, please subscribe, follow, and share, and be sure to tell a friend. The more you engage, the more episodes we can bring to you. Fort Worth Innovates is produced by Kendall Rogers. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this podcast, the Fort Worth Tarrant County Innovation Partnership and the Switchyard Innovation District, who are building an innovation district where technology and research combine to build the future right here, right now.